Bringing timeless Buddhist principles to everyday life, we explore mindfulness, compassion, and self-awarenessness in a modern context. By connecting ancient wisdom to today's challenges, we guide you toward inner peace, clarity, and resilience. Welcome to Radiant Wisdom.
Welcome to Radiant Wisdom, a space where we explore the depths of the mind, the nature of existence, and the timeless wisdom that guides us toward peace. If you find value in these reflections, take a moment to like this video, share it with those who may need it, and subscribe for more insights on mindfulness and self-discovery. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever had a thought that wouldn't leave you alone? A memory from the past that keeps replaying in your mind? A worry about the future that tightens your chest? Or maybe it's anger at someone who wronged you, at life for being unfair, or even at yourself for not being good enough. These thoughts, these emotions, they don't just sit quietly in the background. They shape the way we see the world. They influence how we act, how we feel, and how we interact with others. And the more we feed them, the stronger they grow, like a fire that consumes everything in its path. In Buddhism, these thoughts are often referred to as mental poisons. They're not just fleeting emotions. They are deeply ingrained patterns that, if left unchecked, can lead to endless suffering. Greed, anger, jealousy, arrogance, self-doubt, these are the poisons that cloud our minds and keep us trapped in cycles of pain. But here's the good news. Just as every poison has an antidote, every toxic thought has a cure. And once we learn to recognize these poisons for what they truly are, we begin to free ourselves from their grip. So today we will explore these hidden poisons, what they are, how they manifest in our daily lives, and most importantly, how we can cleanse our minds and reclaim our peace. Because the truth is, suffering is not caused by the world outside of us. It is caused by the way we perceive it. And once we change our perception, we change our reality. Let's begin. Imagine waking up one morning and feeling a heaviness in your chest, not from physical illness, but from something deeper, an unease that lingers beneath the surface. Maybe it's stress about work, resentment toward someone who hurt you, or an overwhelming sense that something in your life just isn't right. What if I told you that these feelings don't arise by accident? That they are symptoms of a deeper affliction, one that has existed in the human mind for thousands of years. Buddhism teaches that the mind, when left unchecked, becomes poisoned. These poisons are not tangible, yet their effects are real. They cloud our judgment, trap us in suffering, and prevent us from experiencing true peace. There are 6 primary poisons of the mind, 6 toxic patterns of thinking that silently shape our lives. Let's examine each one closely. Greed, Lobha, the endless hunger. Have you ever wanted something so badly that you believed it would finally make you happy? A better job, a bigger house, a relationship, more money? Yet the moment you get it, the satisfaction fades, and you move on to wanting the next thing. This is greed, an insatiable hunger that convinces us that happiness is always just out of reach. It tells us, if only I had more, I'd be happy. But the truth is, the more we chase, the emptier we feel. In Buddhism, greed is seen as one of the root causes of suffering because it keeps us in a state of constant craving. Instead of appreciating what we have, we fixate on what we lack. The antidote? Gratitude. Learning to be content with the present moment. When we stop seeking happiness outside of ourselves, we discover that true fulfillment comes from within. Hatred, Dosa, the fire within. Think of a time when you were truly angry, your body tensed up, your heart pounded, and your mind became consumed by rage. In that moment, nothing else mattered except your anger. Hatred is like a fire. It burns fiercely, but the first person it harms is the one holding on to it. Many of us carry old resentments, grudges, and bitterness toward others. We believe that by holding on to our anger, we are somehow punishing those who wronged us. But in reality, we are only poisoning ourselves. Buddhism teaches that anger arises from misunderstanding, the illusion that we are separate from others. But when we recognize our shared humanity, compassion begins to take the place of hatred. The antidote? Forgiveness. Not because others necessarily deserve it, but because we deserve peace. Letting go of resentment frees us from suffering. Delusion, Moha. The fog of ignorance. Sometimes we go through life without truly seeing reality as it is. We get lost in distractions, absorbed in superficial desires, and caught up in illusions. We chase after pleasure, believing it will bring lasting happiness, only to find ourselves empty once the excitement fades. This is delusion, the inability to see things clearly. It keeps us trapped in cycles of suffering because we don't understand what truly brings peace. One of the greatest illusions we hold is the belief that we are separate, isolated beings. We build walls around ourselves, thinking we must compete, conquer, or prove our worth. But the truth is, we are all deeply interconnected. The antidote? Wisdom, seeking truth through self-awareness and mindfulness. When we awaken from illusion, we begin to live with greater clarity and purpose. Jealousy, the shadow of comparison. Imagine scrolling through social media and seeing someone else's success. A friend who got a promotion, a couple who seems blissfully happy, a stranger traveling the world. Instead of feeling inspired, a dark thought creeps in. Why them? Why not me? Jealousy arises when we measure our worth against others. It tricks us into believing that happiness is a limited resource. That if someone else has more, we must have less. But this is an illusion. No two people walk the same path. The success of others does not take away from our own. In fact, jealousy blinds us from seeing the blessings we already have. The antidote? Rejoicing in the happiness of others. This practice, called mudita in Buddhism, teaches us to feel joy, not resentment, when others succeed. By shifting our mindset, we transform jealousy into inspiration. Arrogance, Mana, the false summit. Have you ever met someone who always had to be right? Someone who looked down on others, believing they were smarter, stronger, or more important? Arrogance is the belief that we are superior to others. It creates distance, making real connection impossible. But deep down, arrogance is often a mask for insecurity. Those who need to prove their worth the most are often the ones who feel the least worthy. Buddhism teaches that wisdom comes not from knowing everything, but from recognizing how little we truly know. The greatest masters in history were also the most humble, because they understood that learning never ends. The antidote? Humility, the willingness to learn, listen, and grow. True strength comes from an open mind. Doubt, Vicikicchā, the silent paralysis. Self-doubt is one of the most destructive poisons of all. It whispers in our ear, "You're not good enough, you'll fail, you don't deserve happiness." It paralyzes us, preventing us from taking action. We hesitate, overthink, and second-guess ourselves until opportunities pass us by. But here's the truth. Doubt is just a story we tell ourselves. It has no real power unless we believe it. The antidote? Trust. In ourselves, in the process of life, and in the knowledge that every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Instead of fearing failure, we must embrace growth. These 6 poisons, greed, hatred, delusion, jealousy, arrogance, and doubt, are not just abstract concepts. They shape the way we think, feel, and live. They are the unseen forces behind our struggles, anxieties, and conflicts. But here's the most important truth. We are not powerless. With awareness, we can begin to recognize these poisons within ourselves. With practice, we can learn to let them go. And with time, we can cultivate a mind free from suffering, one that is peaceful, compassionate, and truly free. Because in the end, it is not the world outside us that determines our happiness. It is the state of our own mind, and the choice to cleanse it is ours. A Buddhist story, The Cup of Poison Tea. In a quiet monastery deep within the mountains, a young monk named Jiro struggled with his thoughts. Though he had spent years studying Buddhist teachings, he couldn't find peace. His mind was filled with anger, regret, and resentment, poisons that he could not seem to let go of. One evening, he approached his master, an old monk known for his wisdom. "Master," Jiro said, his voice filled with frustration, "I do everything I am taught. I meditate, I chant, I follow the precepts. But no matter how hard I try, my heart is still heavy. I cannot forget the wrongs others have done to me. I cannot forgive the past. Why does peace feel so impossible?" The master listened patiently, then stood up and walked to a wooden shelf. He took down a small teapot and began to prepare tea. Jiro watched in silence, confused by his teacher's actions. After a few minutes, the master handed Jiro a cup. The tea inside was fragrant, but something about it seemed off. The liquid was a murky, unnatural shade of brown. Jiro frowned. "Master, this tea, something is wrong with it." The old monk smiled. "Drink it." Jiro hesitated. "But what if it's poisoned?" The master met his gaze and replied, "If you knew this tea was poisoned, would you still drink it?" Jiro shook his head. "Of course not. That would be foolish. Why would I willingly drink something that could harm me?" The master's smile deepened. He set down the teapot and looked directly into Jiro's eyes. "Then tell me, my student, if you would not drink poisoned tea, why do you drink the poison of anger every day? Why do you sip from the cup of resentment, hatred, and regret, knowing it only brings suffering?" Jiro was stunned. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. He looked down at the cup in his hands, realizing the truth in his teacher's words. The master continued, "You hold onto your anger as if it protects you. You cradle your pain as if it defines you, but the past is already gone. The only thing keeping your suffering alive is you." Jiro lowered his gaze, ashamed. "But, Master, how do I put the cup down?" The old monk chuckled softly. "You do not need to force it. Simply see the truth clearly. Once you truly understand that your suffering is self-inflicted, the cup will slip from your fingers on its own." Jiro sat in silence for a long time. He looked out at the fading light of the evening sky, feeling something shift within him. For the first time, he saw his pain for what it truly was, not an unchangeable reality, but a choice he had been making all along. The next morning, when Jiro awoke, the world looked different. The mountains were still the same. The wind still carried the same gentle whisper, but something within him had changed. And when anger arose in his heart again, as it surely would, he remembered the lesson of the poisoned tea. And he chose to set the cup down. The lesson of the poisoned tea. This simple story carries a profound truth. Suffering is not caused by the events of our past, but by our unwillingness to release them. Many of us hold on to pain, grudges, and regrets, believing that they are part of who we are. But in reality, we are only keeping ourselves trapped. The anger we carry does not harm those who wronged us. It only poisons our own minds and hearts. Buddhism teaches that letting go is not about denying the past. It is about seeing clearly that clinging to suffering serves no purpose. Once we recognize this, The act of letting go happens naturally. So ask yourself, what poison tea are you still drinking? What grudges, fears, or regrets do you still hold on to? And most importantly, are you ready to put the cup down? The antidote, the 3 jewels of healing. If toxic thoughts are the poisons of the mind, what is the cure? Buddhism teaches that suffering is not an unavoidable fate. It is a condition that can be transformed. Just as every illness has a remedy, the poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion can be countered with wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness. These are not abstract ideas, they are practices, concrete steps we can take to cleanse the mind and find peace. In Buddhist tradition, the path to healing lies in what is known as the 3 jewels, 3 guiding principles that illuminate the way out of suffering. They are 1. Mindfulness. Sati, becoming aware. 2. Loving kindness. Metta, replacing poison with medicine. 3. Letting go. Vimutti, releasing the weight. Let's explore how these 3 jewels can serve as antidotes to the poisons that cloud our minds. 1. Mindfulness. Sati, becoming aware. Imagine waking up in the morning, pouring yourself a cup of coffee and sitting down to drink it. But instead of tasting the warmth of the coffee, instead of feeling the cup in your hands, your mind is somewhere else, thinking about yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's worries. This is how most of us live. We are rarely present in the moment. Our minds wander, consumed by regret or anxiety, and we fail to see reality as it is. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing our full attention to the present moment. It is the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. When we are mindful, we recognize toxic thoughts as they arise, rather than unconsciously allowing them to shape our reality. A simple practice. The next time you feel anger, jealousy, or fear creeping in, stop. Take a deep breath. Instead of reacting impulsively, simply notice what is happening within you. Observe your emotions like an outsider watching passing clouds in the sky. In that moment of awareness, you regain control. As the Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." By practicing mindfulness, we take the first step in breaking free from toxic thought patterns. 2. Loving kindness. Metta, replacing poison with medicine. If the poison of anger and resentment burns within you, what happens when you add kindness? If jealousy darkens your heart, what happens when you replace it with gratitude? Loving kindness, or metta, is the practice of consciously cultivating love, compassion, and goodwill toward ourselves and others. It is the antidote to hatred, jealousy, and resentment. A famous Buddhist practice is the Metta meditation, in which we silently repeat phrases of kindness. May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free from suffering. Then, we extend this same wish to others. May all beings be happy, may all beings be healthy, may all beings be free from suffering. At first, it may feel strange, especially if we try to send kindness toward those who have hurt us. But the truth is, holding on to anger only harms ourselves. When we learn to replace hatred with compassion, we begin to set ourselves free. Try this. The next time you feel resentment toward someone, pause and silently wish them peace. It doesn't mean you have to accept their actions, but it means you choose your own peace over suffering. As the Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. 3. Letting go. Vimutti, releasing the weight. Picture yourself carrying a heavy rock in your hands. Your arms ache, your body is tired, yet you refuse to put it down. You tell yourself, "This is mine, I must hold on to it." But what if you simply let it go? This is how we treat our suffering. We carry the weight of past mistakes, regrets, and painful experiences, convinced that we cannot release them. But suffering is not something that happens to us. It is something we cling to. And just as easily as we picked up the burden, we can choose to set it down. Letting go does not mean ignoring our emotions or denying pain. It means acknowledging what has happened, accepting that we cannot change the past, and choosing to move forward. A simple practice. When you feel overwhelmed by anger, regret, or sadness, close your eyes. Imagine that emotion as a physical object in your hands. Feel its weight. Then, visualize yourself opening your hands and letting it go. See it dissolve into the air. Take a deep breath. Feel the lightness in your body. As the Zen saying goes, let go or be dragged. The poisons of the mind, anger, greed, jealousy, doubt, are not permanent conditions. They are like dark clouds passing through the sky. If we do not feed them, they will naturally fade. By practicing mindfulness, we become aware of these poisons before they take hold. By practicing loving kindness, we transform negativity into compassion. By practicing letting go, we free ourselves from suffering. Each day we have a choice to drink the poison or to take the antidote. Which will you choose today? Poison or peace? Each day we make this choice. Every thought we entertain is like a seed. Will you plant suffering or will you cultivate joy? A wise monk once said, "Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional." You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to hold on to resentment, or you can choose to let go. You can drink the poisoned tea, or you can set the cup down. The choice is yours. If this message resonates with you, share it with someone who may need to hear it today. And remember, true peace begins within. Until next time, stay mindful, stay compassionate, and stay free.